I'm pregnant, and it's his. We're keeping it, she said, so I quietly filed for divorce. A year later, she's a single mom. He's gone, and I've never been more at peace. Turns out, closure doesn't come from winning. It comes from letting go. When you've been married for almost 10 years, you think you've seen every version of ordinary. You know the cadence of Sunday mornings, the way your spouse sighs before saying something serious, the sound of their footsteps in the hallway when they're pacing before confessing something they know will hurt you. I'd been married to Emma for 8 years. We met in grad school. She studied marketing. I was finishing my MBA. She was sharp, ambitious, and had this dry humor that cut through my constant seriousness. Our relationship was stable, maybe too much so. Predictable to a fault. Same restaurants, same vacations, same way of solving fights, by pretending they didn't happen. There were small signs, looking back. Late nights at work events. Her phone always face down. A few jokes about her work husband named Dean. I brushed it off because I trusted her. And, honestly, because I was tired. Running a small logistics company drains more than just time. It eats emotional bandwidth. Then, one night, she came home early. No warning, no text. She walked straight into the kitchen where I was cooking and said, "We need to talk." I remember the smell of garlic in the pan and the exact way she didn't meet my eyes. She sat down, folded her hands, and said it like she was reading from a prepared statement. "I'm pregnant, and it's not yours. It's Dean's. We're keeping it." For a few seconds, the words didn't register. It was like someone had unplugged my brain. I asked her to repeat it. She did, slower this time. Same tone. No tears. Like she was proud of her honesty. Then she said something that I still hear in my head sometimes, like static. I didn't plan to fall for him. It just happened. But I need to follow my heart. I didn't shout. Didn't cry. Didn't even move for a long time. Just stood there, watching her stare at her folded hands, waiting for some reaction. Finally, I said, "Okay." She blinked, surprised. "Okay." "Yeah," I said. "Then I guess we're done." She frowned, like I was being unreasonable. "Don't be dramatic. We can talk about this. Maybe work something out." I think she expected me to fight for her, to beg, to rage, to prove I still cared. But something in me had already shut off. Instead, I said quietly, "No, you made your choice. I'll make mine." That night, while she was in the shower, I opened my laptop and logged into our joint accounts. I didn't touch anything, just looked. Savings, mortgage, insurance policies. I printed everything. Then I emailed myself copies of every financial document I could find, tax returns, bank statements, even her credit card bills. When she went to bed, I slept on the couch. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Angela, recommended by a colleague who'd gone through a brutal divorce. I told her everything. She didn't flinch, just said, "We'll move quickly, quietly." Over the next 2 weeks, I gathered everything I needed. Proof of her affair, screenshots from her unlocked phone, messages with Dean, even hotel receipts from a shared credit card. Documents confirming I was not the father, based on conception date, and my medical records showing I'd been out of town. Emma thought I was just taking time to process. She even told her friends I was being emotionally unavailable. Meanwhile, Angela drafted the divorce petition and filed it quietly, citing adultery. The day she got served, I was at work. My phone buzzed. 8 missed calls from her, 3 from unknown numbers, 1 from her sister. Then a text. "How could you do this? I thought we could handle this like adults." I didn't reply. By the time I got home, she was gone. A few clothes missing, her makeup bag, and the framed photo from our honeymoon. Everything else was untouched, like she thought she'd come back for it later. But she never did. For a while, I felt nothing, just a kind of mechanical emptiness. I kept going to work, kept my routine, avoided talking about it. When people asked, I said, "We're separating. It's mutual." But nights were harder. That's when the reality hit, the small things. Her toothbrush still in the cup. The sound of her favorite show playing from a saved episode list. The way my phone sometimes lit up with her name out of muscle memory, and I almost answered before remembering. And then one night, about a month later, Dean called me. I didn't pick up. He left a voicemail. "Hey man, just wanted to say, no hard feelings. It's complicated, but we didn't mean for it to happen this way." I saved that voicemail. Not for revenge. For proof. Because deep down, I knew this story wasn't over. Divorce is strangely quiet when you don't fight it. Emma expected drama, I think. Expected me to plead, to rage, to play the humiliated husband. But when I simply stepped back, she lost her script. No arguments, no late-night shouting matches. Just silence and signed documents. By the time the first court date rolled around, she was visibly pregnant. Dean came with her. He looked exactly like you'd expect. Confident, charming, overgroomed. The kind of guy who mistakes charisma for character. He didn't even look at me as we sat across from each other. Emma did, though. Her eyes kept darting toward me like she was trying to read my mind. Maybe hoping I'd still show some trace of the man she could manipulate. I didn't. The divorce went through faster than either of them anticipated. Angela made sure of that. All assets were cleanly divided. No alimony since she'd been unfaithful. And I'd already removed her from the company benefits plan before she realized what that meant. When it was done, she texted me. "You didn't have to be cruel." I replied, "I wasn't. You just mistook consequences for cruelty." Months passed. I heard through mutual friends that Emma and Dean had moved into a small rental on the other side of town. She left her job to focus on the baby. Dean was still working in marketing, freelance, mostly, which is a polite way of saying unemployed with a portfolio. At first, I avoided updates. I didn't want to know. But curiosity has a way of sneaking back and once the pain dulls. Then one evening, out of nowhere, her sister called me. "Hey," she said hesitantly. "I know this is awkward, but Emma's not doing great. Dean's kind of gone." I stayed silent. Apparently, Dean had been traveling for work, except nobody knew which company he was working for. Rent was late, Emma's savings were gone, and she was 8 months pregnant. I said, as evenly as I could, "That's not my problem anymore." Her sister sighed. "Yeah, I figured you'd say that. I just thought you should know." 2 weeks later, Emma texted me. The first message in months. "I know I have no right to ask, but could we talk? Please." I didn't respond for a day. Then I wrote. "About what?" "I just need help. He's not answering his phone. I'm due any day now. I don't have anywhere to go." I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me, the old, stupidly loyal part, wanted to drive over, help her pack, fix it all. But another part of me, the part that had spent nights staring at divorce papers and legal bills, stayed cold. So I wrote, "You made your choice. I made mine. I hope you and your child are healthy. That's all I can say." She didn't reply. The baby was born a week later, a boy. I saw the announcement on social media before she blocked me. The caption read, "New beginnings." Dean wasn't in the picture. A few months passed. Work picked up again. I started running, joined a local gym, and slowly began to feel human. Then, one morning, I got an email from a lawyer's office. It was a notice, not directed at me, but part of public filing records that my attorney forwarded out of professional courtesy. Dean had been served for child support. He'd apparently left the province, possibly even the country. Emma was seeking assistance, claiming financial abandonment. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd chosen love. Now she was learning what love without responsibility looks like. A few months later, I ran into her by chance at a grocery store. She looked exhausted, pale, thinner, hair pulled back carelessly. There was a baby carrier in the cart. The kid was sleeping. For a moment, she froze when she saw me. Then she whispered, "Hey." I nodded politely. "Hi, Emma." We stood there for an awkward moment between the cereal aisle and the frozen section. Finally, she said quietly, "He's gone. He left. Just disappeared. I don't even know where he is anymore." I said nothing. Then she added, almost desperately, "I never thought it would end up like this." I looked at her, the woman who'd once torn my life in half with a single sentence, and I felt something strange. Not anger, not pity, just detachment. "You thought you were chasing happiness," I said softly. "Turns out you were just running from boredom." She blinked, stunned. I nodded once, grabbed my cart, and walked away. Behind me, I heard the baby start to cry. Update 1. It's been about 7 months since that grocery store encounter. Life has a way of moving on quietly when you stop feeding the noise. For a while, I didn't hear anything about Emma or Dean. No gossip, no mutual updates, no social media sightings. I assumed she'd moved in with family or figured out how to handle things on her own. I didn't wish her harm. I just didn't wish her anything at all. Then, one morning in February, my lawyer forwarded me a message labeled FYI, recent filing, Dean M. Dean had resurfaced. Apparently, he'd come back to the province and was now facing a court-ordered paternity test. Turns out, he'd been ignoring letters and subpoenas for months. When the test finally confirmed what everyone already knew, that he was the father, he tried to claim he was unemployed and couldn't afford child support. But here's the twist. The man had been working under the table for a friend's small marketing firm, taking cash payments to avoid garnishment. Emma's lawyer found out. He was ordered to pay retroactive support plus penalties. When the ruling went public, a few of Dean's business contacts cut ties with him. I heard through the grapevine that he lost his freelance gigs almost overnight. Meanwhile, Emma started posting vague, single mom empowerment stories online. Quotes about lessons learned, growth, and self-love. But you could tell from the tone, it wasn't pride. It was survival. About a month later, she emailed me. Not from her main account, from a new one. Subject line, apology. The message read, I don't expect you to respond. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve any of it. I thought I was chasing something real, but I was really just chasing validation. I'm paying for it now, every day, in ways I never imagined. I don't want anything from you. Just to say, I finally understand. I didn't respond right away. I sat on it for a week, rereading it every night. Then I replied, I hope you find peace, Emma. For what it's worth, I've forgiven you. But that doesn't mean I'll ever let you back into my life. Some doors close for good, and that's how they're supposed to. She didn't write again. Strangely, that exchange gave me a sense of closure I hadn't realized I needed. Not because I got the apology, but because I didn't need it anymore. Angela, my lawyer, once told me something after our final court session that stuck with me. The real power move isn't revenge. It's indifference. She was right. Indifference isn't coldness, it's freedom. I started living again, traveling, reconnecting with people I'd neglected. I even started seeing someone new, Claire, a project manager at a client firm. She's grounded, kind, and allergic to drama. When I told her about the divorce, she just said, that must have been rough, and never cried again. That's when I knew she was different. Then, last week, I ran into Emma's sister again. She told me Emma had finally moved back to her hometown with her parents. She's working part-time, raising her son, and trying to rebuild. She said Emma doesn't talk about Dean anymore. Apparently, he left again, this time for good. And when she mentioned that, I felt something almost like peace. Not satisfaction, not revenge, just the quiet realization that the universe doesn't need your help balancing the scales. It always does eventually. The last loose end came in the mail a few days ago, an envelope addressed to me, forwarded through the old marital address. Inside was a simple note, handwritten in the careful, slanted handwriting I once knew by heart. Thank you for not becoming bitter. I wish I'd been half as strong as you were. No return address. No contact info. Just that. I read it once, folded it neatly, and tucked it into the back of my filing cabinet. Not as a keepsake, but as proof that closure doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it arrives quietly, years later, in black ink on white paper. Final update that it's been a full year since that last email. The kind that arrives at the end of a chapter and quietly closes a book you never planned to reopen. Sometimes I forget that I was ever married. Not in a cold way, just in the way you forget about an old scar until the light hits it differently. Emma is a name I almost never hear anymore. Dean, from what little I know, has disappeared again, possibly out west. Someone said he's working odd jobs, living off the grid. The irony isn't lost on me. He wanted freedom so badly that he ended up with nothing tying him down, including responsibility. As for Emma, I heard she's doing okay. Her parents help with the baby. She posts pictures sometimes, filtered, bright, captioned with things like, my world. I scroll past them without emotion. There's no bitterness left, just distance. It took time to rebuild. Not financially. I'd been careful, methodical. It was my inner life that needed repairing. In the first few months after everything happened, I thought healing meant staying busy. Work, gym, travel, repeat. But busyness isn't recovery. It's just distraction wearing a mask. Real healing came in smaller, quieter ways. Evening walks, cooking dinner for myself again, saying no to things that drain me, learning to sit in silence without feeling like something was missing. There's a specific peace that comes from realizing no one owes you closure. That peace arrived one morning when I woke up, brewed coffee, and realized I hadn't thought about them. Not once, in weeks. That's when I knew I was free. Claire and I are still together. We moved in last month, something that would have terrified the old version of me. She's the opposite of Emma in every way that matters. Calm, direct, grounded. When she says, I love you, it sounds less like a performance and more like a promise. She knows the broad strokes of my past, but not every detail. She never asked for the full story, and I never felt the need to give it. She once said, You're the most peaceful man I've met. Like you've already fought your hardest battles. And maybe she's right. Every so often, something brings me back to that night. Emma's standing in our kitchen, saying those words. I'm pregnant, and it's his. We're keeping it. Back then, it felt like a death sentence. Now, it feels like the moment I was set free, though I didn't know it yet. I don't hate her for it anymore. I think, in her own way, she thought she was chasing happiness. She just mistook selfishness for courage. But I can't judge her too harshly for that. I've made my own mistakes, too. The difference is, I learned to stop repeating mine. The house feels different now, lighter. There's no tension in the air, no waiting for a text that doesn't come, no scanning through messages for hidden meanings. Just quiet. Peaceful, earned quiet. I keep a framed quote on my desk, something I read months after the divorce that stuck with me. Sometimes the worst thing that ever happens to you is also the best thing that ever happened to you. It just takes time to see it. It's true. If she hadn't betrayed me, I would have kept existing in a half-life, comfortable but numb, devoted but unseen. Now I'm fully awake, fully present, and finally alive. A friend once asked if I ever think about what would have happened if she hadn't cheated. I told him, then I'd still be married and still not happy. That's the truth. Sometimes betrayal is the only language life uses to say, you're not where you're supposed to be. I don't know if Emma ever found peace, or if she still regrets what happened. I hope she does find it, not because she deserves it, but because I don't want to carry any part of that story anymore. As for me, I'm good. Really actually good. Not because I won. Because I stopped needing to.